Welcome to Grasp Confidence Podcast. I am your host, Tara LaFon Gooch. Before we get started today, I want to mention that this is a very special episode, and you're going to find out why. My next guest has one of the most incredible stories of overcoming adversity that I've ever heard of. You may have heard of him. He is the former CEO of CITGO. That's right, CITGO. I want you to imagine this scenario. You go to a business trip, you and your colleagues. You're expecting to do business in a foreign country. And what happens next will shock and awe you. My guest was held captive. He was a hostage in this foreign country. Again, he went there for business, and a completely unexpected result happened. Something that nobody could have seen coming. So, my next guest is Jose. And Jose, I want you to introduce yourself and to the audience, if you could.
Tara, thank you for having me. It's an honor being with you. My name is Jose Pereira, and as Tara introduced me, this episode happened in November 2017. To put a little bit of context, I did this career in the oil and gas. I began working in Venezuela. I'm Venezuelan born, and I began working in Venezuela in the oil and gas company of the Venezuelan state, that is PDVSA. So I began my career in 1985. Begin my career, and by the way, I come from like a third generation of oil workers because my father, my mother, my grandfather, and my grandmother, all of them were working oil and gas. So we're kind of, and my son also. So I begin there. I begin working in oil in the international side of the business. And at some point, more than a decade and a half ago, they sent me here to the US. I live in Houston. I was assigned to CITGO Petroleum, that is the US based company that belongs to PDVSA. And I completed my career there. So I was kind of ready to get retired. I was kind of in the retire mode. I was in a movie at that moment when I received a phone call to go to an unexpected meeting because we were by that time revamping a refinery in Aruba. And they asked me to go to make the presentation in a large meeting that was having there. And to tell you the truth, I didn't see nothing wrong because that was normal course of business. But it resulted, unfortunately, to be a settlement because maybe we're going to talk later how the situation came. But that was basically the story.
Wow. And again, we don't expect things to happen to us when we go on vacation. We don't expect anything to happen to us when we go on a business trip. And we can never be prepared for something like this. The interesting thing is, it wasn't just you involved in this, Jose. It was also, now you guys were called the Citco Six. So there were other people involved in this as well from your company. What happened to how did this all come about, and who were these other members that were also held captive in Venezuela?
Yeah, because I was called, as I said, to go to this business trip, and they asked to go the top executives that I have that were involved in this project because all this team was working in this revamping. So I was the president, and the other five guys were the vice presidents one
Wow.
was the vice president of the refinery, the other guy was the vice president of institutional relations, the other was that trading, oil and gas trading, the other was the um, general affairs. So there were all the guys that were involved. We traveled because, again, it was a big presentation. Tara was a 1,000 people presentation. There was all the affiliates of PDVSA worldwide. So in the middle of the meeting, because I did a presentation, and the presentation was really successful because we were doing great with that project, and was kind of a standing ovation. And was for me, it was like a wow, I'm finishing my career in this way. I was kind of excited. I had the airplane waiting for in the airport to come back to Houston, and then came all the situation that this guy sent it. There is a counter-military police in Venezuela called DGCIM. I didn't know that exists. And this guy came to us asked, with the names, and they put us charged of being spies, treason to the country, embezzlement, corruption, association, and a lot of things. And we said, what's going on here? So we didn't understand. We really thought there was a mistake in that moment.
Wow.
Unfortunately, when we realized, because to put a context to your audience, that what was going on, and you can Google that, 6 months before our situation, the administration that was here in the U.S., the Trump administration, was having a lot of dispute with the Venezuelan regime because they declared that that regime was illegitimate. By the way, that regime is still there, and they imposed sanctions to the country, to the people, and they did an oil ban. So it was big deal because they wanted to crush the regime. And this guy, we were dual citizens. They decided to take us and use us as political pawns. So we became the high political pawns of all these geopolitical things going to the two countries, and you never expect to get to that situation. Today, that I'm very aware, because I talk about this. I met other families that unfortunately are going through situation similar like this in other countries. This is something called the hostage diplomacy. It's a very, very sophisticated way to do diplomacy. The father of this are the Iranians. They come doing this 3,000 years ago when there was the Persian Empire. They always took people hostage to negotiate. So they create that technique, they refined it, and now they use like a kind of way to do diplomacy. So today, many countries have replied that technique, like Russia is doing it,
Mm-hmm.
China is doing it,
Mm-hmm.
Afghanistan, Syria, Cuba, and Venezuela. So all these countries that have similar regimes, that have been doing replicas. Because Tara, I met several of the former hosted here in the US, and many of the family. And when you talk with them, all the situations are so similar. And you were talking about going to a business trip or a family vacation. Well, let me tell you, most of the people, that's the situation. Because the hostage diplomacy, you don't have to be a politician. The
Mm.
only thing is you have to be like a high profile target. You can be a guy like me, a business guy, or you can be a university professor, or you can be a religious leader, or you can be a human rights advocate, or you can be an environmental specialist. The people that I mentioned are the guys that have been there. So most of them has been going to conventions, family visit, because some are like me, dual citizen of those countries, doing business or whatever, and then you get caught in the middle of this situation. And the bad news is when you go in this situation, the statistic that is run says they typically you stay around 5 years. That
Wow.
what we lasted. I know people that are still there, they have more than 10 years.
Incredible.
Mhm.
Again, this is something that we hear about on the news. A lot of people don't have a personal relationship with this. So it's hard for them to put themselves in your shoes.
Yeah.
And that's how it was for me until I met you, right?
Mhm.
We connected on LinkedIn and it was serendipitous, really. I do want to share that story because it was really a work of God. I sent in a direct message my TEDx talk to a lot of people promoting it and just getting the word out, right? And one of the gentlemen that I sent the talk to, it really resonated with him and he reposted it on his LinkedIn feed, which was amazing.
Mhm.
This gentleman tagged you
Yeah.
in a comment,
Because
and
he followed me.
he was following you. He
Yeah.
wasn't even connected with you.
Mhm.
And it was my first correspondence with this person. So I was connected with him. He was following you. He knew of your story. And I said, "Who's Jose?" So I clicked on your name. I said, "I like that name." So I clicked on your name and I read something I couldn't believe on your profile, that you were had been a hostage, that you had went through this extreme, what I would call extreme level of human adversity. And here you are coming out on the other side, sharing your story, empowering other people with this message, and spreading this word that's a tangible artifact now. Because I had never met someone who had gone through this. Again, it seems like somebody on the news. And now, oh my gosh, he's in my LinkedIn network. So immediately I connected with you and I said, "We have to talk." Right? Something like that. "Here, get on my calendar." And we did. We had a great conversation, and I it was very serendipitous. It was a work of God for sure. And I learned so much in that one conversation and felt so inspired. And it just shows that through any of adversity that we face in life, there's an equal or greater opportunity on the other side. And you've really turned this pain, this experience into a deep, deep purpose, haven't you?
Well, I always mention, and it's true, that when I was in that situation, that at some point you're in a very dark place. At some point, and to tell the truth, I don't know how it came to me, the book of Viktor Frankl, The Man in the Search of a Meaning. I never had read that book, even never heard about that book. The first time I got that book, and by the way, it's a very thin book. It's not difficult to read. It's an easy reading. When I read that book, and
Mhm.
I heard what this guy was talking about, being captive in the concentration camp. By the way, my book is gonna go out very soon. The people that read it, they will see how I got connected to the book, because I was going through a situation that I'm not gonna spoil it alert here. Um, I was going in a situation in that moment that when I was reading the book, we were exactly doing what the guy was talking in the book, but exactly the same. And I said, God, we're at a concentration camp. And
Yeah.
this guy is talking to me. And what he was saying is exactly that in the pain, you can find purpose. And the way you have to find the purpose is having a meaning and why you need to survive. When I heard that message, I said, okay, Jose, this is God that put you, and this guy is talking to me. And really, he was talking to me. And here I am. I discovered that really at some point you go through this situation in life is because it's part of the master plan that God has for you. Because now I have my testimony, I have my story, and I'm spreading it, and I'm helping others with this. And I'm not saying that I feel glad that this situation happened to me, but I'm really know that this happened for some reason, and well, it was the plan of God. Period.
Period. Exactly. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's interesting. I had a book that really shifted my perspective on adversity as well. Most people have heard of it. A lot of people have read it. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But in that book, he mentions a story about adversity and his son overcoming adversity. And he says something in the quote that changed my life. He said, "The adversity that we have in life is directly proportionate to the service we are meant to render to mankind.
Wow, wow,
The
wow,
adversity that we face is directly proportionate to the service we are meant to render to mankind." How resonating and powerful is that?
wow.
And if you reframe it, and we've all gone through adversity on some level,
Mhm.
right? And if we can reframe our adversities to a service, and it's a God-given gift, that's when you really, really tap into that deep, deep purpose. What do you think about that?
Well, that's totally true. And I'm today totally convinced of the hands of God operating in a very magical way, because I went through my situation. I had gone through a process where I was being hopeless, and at the end we were really empowered, and with a lot of hope. But when I came back, I needed to find my path. So I discovered, because I got connected to a church that today I attend, and my pastor is a guy that, wow, is amazing. And when I begin to hear his speech every Monday, that guy was like talking to me every Monday, every Monday. One day I said, I had to talk with you, because he knew about my situation through my daughter-in-law that gave me to, but I didn't have the opportunity to talk directly with him. So we had a conversation, and he put me to tell my testimony. And now I have been, it has been like a training. Knowing now that you have a tool, you have that gift, and now you have to begin to use it. And I'm beginning to do even church service, and it's not only talking. I also now I'm doing church service, and I'm beginning to be more active in that. So, and you said it very well. It's like directly proportional the adversity you went through, so that service you have to do. So today, for me, this is kind of a calling. It became like a calling, and let me tell you, I got blown mind every time I'm meeting people. That is, how did I get connected with these people? Because now I'm beginning to discover that I'm beginning to get connected to so much people doing great. Well, you're one case, doing great things in the world, and and that I want to say it here. All my life, because I began doing my life career when I was 21 years, so I literally worked all my life in the oil and gas. Oil and gas is a cluster. You're like this.
Mhm.
So you don't know what's going in the world, because you are so focused in that at some point you lose the sense of what's going on in the life. Let me tell you, I lost friends. I was so workaholic, so I didn't have neither social media, nothing of that, because I was so focused. So when I came back now, and now I'm beginning to discover there is a world outside there. There are wonderful people doing great things in the world. For me, has been a discovery, a very pleasant discovery. That,
Wow, that's amazing. What a transition, right?
oh yeah,
Going from basically very siloed in within your industry, not really having an appreciation of what's going on outside of the world, to connecting with individuals across the globe on a deeply personal level. And, the interesting thing is that your story is allowing you to make quantum leaps with the people that you're connecting up with. You mentioned even being able to meet Sting and famous influential people. That's just phenomenal, right? And if it wasn't for this story, if it wasn't for this adversity, I don't know, would that happen? That maybe not,
no,
right?
no, no, of course not.
Probably not.
Of course, it will not happen, because that this story is what make you make that connection. And not only that, that I discovered that this situation I went through, because I was a leader in a company where the way you lead, again, you're in a cluster. Now I can talk with other leaders and say, hey, my friend, you have to be connected. You have to be more personal. You have to be more human oriented. So now I have some tools that by the
Mhm.
way, this has been an evolving process for me, discovering things that we did there, and then you can. replicated in your business. So now I can give examples to them, the things that I went through. So I prove that things work because we went through that and it worked. It worked. So being human, I discovered that being human, simply being human, connects you to everybody. And this has become like a law of attraction, that you begin to attract people that get connected with you. And after having connection, that after I finished it, how I met this person, you know, I don't get it, you know.
I think about that all the time. How did I get to meet this
Well,
person?
that the way you just said, like we met. I remember the day we were talking, I was laughing. I said, "This is crazy the way we connected. Somebody that doesn't know me, doesn't know her, connected us, and now we're talking here. Come on."
Come on, right? It's possible for anybody. But it's that adversity, that brought us together. My TEDx talk was based on overcoming adversity and personal development, which is leadership, self leadership, and going on to have that become the best version of yourself.
Correct.
It's a different story than yours, but the magical thing is it's the human story. It doesn't matter if I've had a different background and experience than you or somebody else or somebody else. When someone hears another authentic human story, it's a real catalyzing agent. It's connective tissue that binds you to that other person, but on a deep level, it's a soul level.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's no transaction there. It's a deep-seated relationship building thing when you can connect on that level of true authenticity, really.
Because it's honest, it's authentic, it's what it is. So I always say that I don't have to say nothing. The situation that I went through it, period. It happened. Let me tell you something. When I was in the process finishing my book, there's again it's gonna be out maybe in 1 month. I was, in the editing process, and I received a message in Twitter because I have a Twitter account. I
Mhm.
have Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everything. Okay, I
You're
went from
everywhere.
zero to be all over the media now. Okay, so I have a Twitter account, and I received a DM of a guy, and he said, "Hey, Jose, I like what you're doing. I have some information that can be useful for you." And back and forward, and of course, for confidentiality, I'm not going to mention the person, but back and forward, after maybe 1 month, we were talking. It resulted that this guy was one of the behind the scene negotiator of our case. He was one of the negotiators that he never appeared. He gave me information that, of course, under confidentiality, I cannot disclose it. But
Mhm.
now I have information that some details behind our case that I was not aware. And you know what I discovered, Tara? That we were supposed to be released in the first 6 months, but something happened that I'm going to mention in my book that never happened, and that put us to stay the 5 years. But you know what I think today? That I needed to go to the process because I needed my testimony. If I had been released in 6 months, I will not be talking today here with you.
Wow.
So I discovered that. Can you imagine that? So that is a plan of God. He wanted me to go to that situation. Period. So
Yep.
and it was not because he was wanted to hurt me. It was he wanted me to go to the process. So now I'm here talking about this. So
Yes.
for me, when I discovered that, I said, "Wow, it's amazing the way God operates. It's amazing."
It is amazing. I mentioned that in my book as well. Anything require it if we're going to be refined, it requires some resistance.
Mm,
So, a beautiful physical body with muscle tone. Guess what? That required work and resistance training. A sword wasn't always a sword, it was once a blunt metal object. It
mm.
had to be forged through fire and beaten with hammers.
Well, Paul says it in the Bible that you have to be fortunate with the fire, and that another thing because for me this has been so therapeutic. I have a therapist that, by the way, I have it today. I have it every Thursday, and we today are very friends. We talk very openly, but she made me discover episodes that I had in the past in my
Mhm.
life. What was forging me to go when prepared to that moment that I went through being hostage. So I was prepared. I really, really today are aware about those situations that some of them I forgot it. I did regressions in my life.
Mhm.
And I found several episodes that had happened in my life that were preparing me for that moment. So
Wow.
God never abandons you. He prepares you and he will not put you more than you can support. And he will be guiding you. So it's like a big retreat that you've been prepared.
Yes. And when we look at adversity and trauma like that, what can't we accomplish?
Of course.
There's nothing that we can't accomplish. And so many things in our past are setting us up to be the person that we're actually meant to be.
Mhm,
It's really easy to have the perception of, we're a mouse in the field. All we can see is what's directly in front of our path.
mhm.
But we have to take that 10,000-foot view sometimes and see all the inner workings and things that are happening in play. And honestly, I believe that God is that master chess player. He sees 100 moves, 1,000 moves, a million moves ahead of us. We can only see what's directly in front of our path, but he sees the entire journey and shapes us into who we're supposed to be along the way. So, when we're going through things, it's incredibly difficult. It can be challenging. It can be taxing. We can wonder why we're going through this, why we've been forsaken, even. But there's something in our life that set us up for that. And when we reframe it from a challenge to an opportunity, it sets us up for a world of change and difference. And honestly, that does help us render that service that we're supposed to deliver to mankind.
Correct. And not only saying why I'm going to this, it's more saying for what I'm going to this. Because
Mm.
when you say why, you're blaming him.
Yes.
For what I'm going through this is you're finding your purpose. So because the thing is find the purpose why you're going through that situation. And there are many examples in life. The people that went through adversities and they decided to convert that instead of something bad in something that they can transcend.
Yeah.
I discovered, and for me, this is being a discovery. I'm a regular guy. I'm a guy that was working in a company. If this doesn't happen to me, I get retired. I was planning to become a consultant, continue with my life, and that's it. So, but now I found that there are things in life that really, really have some meaning. You begin to see the things in a totally different way. Today, I see the world in a totally different way. Even the simple things in life now I appreciate it more. In the morning, today when I wake and I have two dogs and they sleep with us in the bed. They're two small pugs. And when I see those guys sleeping, snoring, for me it's so joyful. And before that, I didn't care about that. They were there, but now I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. So you're more conscious about the small things in life. You-
Yes. Yes. I hear you 100%. Sometimes we have to step away from the things that, we're wrapped up in order to appreciate those smaller things in life. But they're everywhere. And I think that, gratitude, it is a choice. It's something we choose daily. And it's not, necessarily the big things. It's not necessarily the fact that we have a sports car or a big house. Those aren't necessarily the things that bring us joy and gratitude.
Yeah,
It's all of it. It's the little things too. It's your dog in the morning. It's your, kiss from your wife first thing. It's a dream you had of a loved one you haven't seen in a long. It can be anything. A sunset, a sunrise. Gratitude is all around us, and when we look for it and actively seek it out, it really does change our lives, doesn't
yeah,
it?
it puts you in a different mood. I
Mhm.
can say, Tara, that for me, in because I will always compare my two lives because my situation, I went, they are so extreme.
Yes.
I was here, I was having everything. When I say everything, I'm saying everything. And in some minutes, I lost everything. So it was a dramatical change, but a dramatical. From being here, having everything and all the power that you can have, and the other day you don't have neither control what you're gonna eat in the afternoon. So and have to beg to have a phone call. I remember the first time I received a phone call from my wife, Tara, 10 months after, 1 minute call. And when they begin to give me more calls, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes every 2 3 days, I was so joyful having those calls. And you know what memories came back to me? That every time my wife was calling me when I was the CEO, I never had time to attend her because
Mhm.
always stuck in meetings and things, and if I had the opportunity to talk with her, I told her, hey, be quick because I'm in a rush. I don't have too much time, and now I'm here begging to have a 1 minute call with my wife. So the life can make you these dramatical changes, the way you decided to take it, because you can go mad. You can think that God abandoned you, and then you go in with anxiety, depression. I can tell you, Tara, one of the guys, because there is a story that nobody tells, but we were not six, we were seven. One of the guy died in prison. My boss, that was the seventh guy, he died 1 year after because he got so depressed that he didn't make it. Even he was a very, very, very high skilled guy. He has like 3 PhD, and he was a very intelligent guy. He didn't make it. This doesn't have to do with intelligence. It has to do with mindset, the way you decided to overcome things. So even he was a very, very high skilled guy. 1 year after, he didn't make it, and he got so depressed and he died 1 year after. By the way, that case today is in the international penal court because he died in jail. So that's a case that when you cannot make things, and you get so depressed because it's a personal choice the way you decided to work on things. So you can get in that dark place and go depressed, and well, you're gonna die. But we decided to go in the other side. We had the opportunity that after 1 year, because the first year we were in isolation, but after 1 year, the six of us, we got together, and that was also a life changer. We begin to cheer us, support us, always being, you know, making be strong, thinking in positive, thinking in families, and so all those things that you can do to overcome adversity. But every time is a personal choice. It's
Every time.
is a personal choice in any adversity, because we were going through this situation, but you can be going in a problem in your marriage, you can be going in a problem in your job, you can be having finance problems, you can be having an accident, you can have been having a personal health issue. Anything is the same. It's
Yep.
a personal choice the way you decide to face things in life.
Absolutely. You're either the victim or
Or
the victor,
correct. Correct.
right? And it's always a choice. So I think, again, anybody can relate to this story. even if you've never gone through something of this level, which most of us haven't. This is, again, a story of extreme human adversity. You came out the other side a changed man, somebody that is turning his pain into purpose and serving mankind to his fullest potential. This is what it's all about. So, a lot of people are listening to the show right now. They're wondering, do I have a purpose?
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe they're entrenched in it right now, Jose. Maybe they're going through that bad thing. Maybe a loved one just died. Maybe they're ill in health. Maybe, right?
Mhm.
But what can we learn from this? And how can we use it to further a purpose for the collective of mankind?
Mhm.
I think if we all took that approach and that mindset, what can't we do?
Yeah. 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 Definitive adversity always will be there.
Yes.
It always will appear unexpectedly. The way you decide to face it is your choice, and if you face it in the positive way, you will always find the path.
Always.
Always find the path, even in extreme situation that you lost somebody, because sometimes things happen. But if you find your purpose, so it's matter that go and seek inside you, because this is the other thing that everybody has that inner force.
Mm,
That force that is beyond what you can think that you can do. That's why people do things they say, wow, how I did this. It's because you have that. And when you discover that you can have that power and you have an insight and you're connected with God and you make that connection, nothing is impossible. Nothing. Even miracles happen. Even miracles. Even miracles.
yes. My friend, wow. So powerful, so uplifting. Thank you so much for I'm honored. First of all, I'm honored that we're friends. I'm honored for our connection. I'm honored that you came on my show and shared your story. And I'm so grateful that you turned your pain into purpose and you're helping others through your story. Jose, everybody's going to want to connect up with you just like I did. So, could you please share the best way people can reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, the most direct is LinkedIn. That I'm very active there. I have my LinkedIn account. By the way, in my LinkedIn account, I post, I do videos, I do master classes, I do audio rooms. I do like every 2 weeks an audio room where I always are talking about this. I have a weekly newsletter that is called Building Resilience. I talk I talk a lot of resilience. I talk about leadership because these are my two topics, because I discovered that leadership and resilience are so connected.
Yes.
And I have my webpage. It's called joseconnect.com, where you can see all my stuff there. I have a link tree where I have all my coaching program that is a leadership and resilience coaching. And I have public speaking too. So anybody that's have events, this is the type of thing that I talk. I talk to inspiring people about overcoming adversity and how they can become great leaders in their life. By the way, I'm gonna have tomorrow morning an event that is called. It's gonna be in Spanish because I'm passionate to begin to talk this with the Spanish community. It's gonna be called "Cómo ser un gran líder en tu vida." That is how you can be a great leader in your life. So,
Oh, I love
so,
that.
so because I discovered that these things that I went through, you can really replicate in your life or in your business. Is a way that is like a, for some reason we went through all this process, and now I can go to that process and explain to people that if you go to this process, you can go to the shore. You can be in the middle of a storm, but you can go to the storm. You
Yeah.
know, I have an episode that I want to mention here, because this is the type of magical episode that now are happening in my life, because I did an audio room that was called "How You Can Navigate Your Storms." And prior to that, I have done a newsletter that was called "How You Can Navigate Your Storms." And we did a great audio room, 3 hours. People was so engaged. And then I went the next week to my church, and my pastor was giving a speech how to navigate the storms. And you know what was his speech? The episode of Paul when he was going to Rome, that was a big storm and the ship shrink. And he was talking about how Paul made that trip to Rome. Even he went to trial and at the end he died, but he left his legacy. And now we are Christian because of that episode, because he could get to Rome.
Oh.
So he had to go to that point to be today what we are talking here about God. If that episode doesn't happen, we were not talking here about God. So can you imagine the power of how you can convert adversity in something that you can last a legacy in the world?
So amazing. We got to get on stage together one day because I have a I have a signature program called Gratitude, Resilience, and Overcoming Adversity. So I think that would be just fantastic, don't you? We should
Oh
do a
yeah,
panel or something.
let's do it, my friend. Let's do it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for Jose for coming on the show today. And thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. Don't forget to leave a review and subscribe. We put out this amazing podcast weekly, and it's all geared for your personal development experience. So don't forget to share this with your friends. And come weekly, I bring on the most amazing guests, just like Jose, all the time. So thank you so much for everyone who tuned in, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care.